I see every single major financial institution, every Fortune 500 company, every major family office, everybody wants Bitcoin. I also see it, becoming easier, obviously, to get for the first time based on companies like American Bitcoin, who's now going public on the NASDAQ exchanges. People can, for the first time, have direct exposure in equity forms to the asset class. It's always been very hard for people to otherwise purchase. And so we're really excited about what we're doing. I think we're going to grow this company. We're in it to win this race, Jen. We are absolutely in it to win this race. I think you know that about our family. And I put my heart and soul into this.
And China together, the first time the leaders of those three countries have been together in this sort of show of solidarity. You said that they're conspiring against the United States. What do you think they're conspiring to do? And given this, is it reason why you should slap or would consider slapping secondary sanctions on Russia if they're conspiring against the U.S. now?
Well, I've already done that with regard to India, and we're doing it with regard to other things. And I put out a truth last night. You saw that. And I was the one that brought it up. I said, they're only doing this. They're looking to, when they did what they did, I thought it was a beautiful ceremony. I thought it was very, very impressive. But I understood the reason they were doing it, and they were hoping I was watching, and I was watching. My relationship with all of them is very good. We're going to find out how good it is over the next week or two. I think that we helped China very much, as you know, when they talk about freedom. And I don't believe that, and maybe I'm wrong, I hope I'm wrong, but I don't believe that America, that the United States was acknowledged for helping China to gain its freedom. But perhaps that was just that was a sleight of hand. I mean, I was very surprised. I watched the speech last night. President Xi's a friend of mine, but I thought that the United States should have been mentioned last night during that speech because we helped China very, very much.
I think regardless of what happens with this particular event or transition, the Fed and Treasury are working closer together and have been working more closely together because we have too much debt. Okay, and they've been doing this for, I would say, several presidents' terms and Treasury secretaries' terms. And as I've been saying for quite a while, the Treasury is captured by Congress, right? Their job is to fund whatever Congress decides to spend. And the Fed, in many ways, is captured by Treasury's needs. So we've seen them work hand in glove in the past. And so that doesn't mean that they're going to be manipulated and do something that's really crazy. But I think the Fed does have an obligation to help the government fund itself.
Well, government borrowing is going up all over the world because governments,
at the same time,
because governments all over the world have been spending more than they take in when it comes to revenue. And at some point, it comes home to roost. And while we have issues in the United States, and a lot of people are justifiably very concerned about our levels of debt, we look like amateurs when you look at what's happening in places like France, which have far less flexibility than we do, right? They can't print their way out of their problem because they have the euro and they don't have an independent central bank that controls only their currency, right? They're really constrained. The UK doesn't have the world's reserve currency. And so as a result, they could, at a worst case scenario, face some kind of run on the currency. The pound dropped dramatically yesterday because of those concerns. So how does that impact the average American? When we saw the Greek debt crisis, which would be tiny, tiny, tiny compared to a French debt crisis, banks across Europe almost shut down. I mean, it was very.
Here's what's crazy. You and I were both in Athens at Syntagma Square.
Yes, you were at Brand X at the time.
Yes, I was at a different network, and people are throwing bottles with Molotov cocktails, and Greece is doing better, I think, than many other nations in, quote, mainstream Europe now.
Oh, yeah. Their debt trades better than France now because they've done so many reforms in the subsequent 10 years. But that crisis is an example of what can happen. We woke up in Athens one morning and the elderly found out that their pensions had been cut by 30% overnight, that they were going to go from 1,500 euros to 1,000 euros a month, something like that. That may not be exact, but that's directionally what happened. And when countries don't control their spending, that can happen. As somebody has to eventually pay for it. You got to print it, or you got to cut spending in really painful ways.
85 or whatever percent is it's already like in law.
You're talking about mandated benefits.
Yes, you can't say, "Oh, I'm cutting Social Security." Whoa.
Right. That's the worst case.
Because grandma in Greece will throw a bottle through a bank.
Politically, that's the worst case scenario, for sure. But in worst case scenario, that is what happens. Let's hope it doesn't come to that. You can cut spending. You can grow your way out of it. If the economy grows fast enough, You can absolutely. We are in a much better position than many of those other countries to grow our way out of it if we can get our act together. A few things. The first is buying them in the belly of the curve and recognizing the yield availability, whether you own treasuries or whether you own corporate credit, whether you own securitized credit or a multi-sector portfolio of core plus bonds, which has all of these. When you buy that, you're harnessing much higher yield than you could 3 years ago. So the starting point is really attractive. The second point is just the cycle that we're about to get into. So the Fed most likely is going to cut rates later this month. And again, they might cut, we think, again in December. So this idea that you're not going to have as much in a cash or a cash-like holding will actually, we think, enable a lot of people to step out. They're not going all the way to equities, but where we think they'll step out into is these traditional sources of income that you didn't have 3 years ago, 5.
Welcome to the Crypto Teacher. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. And you know I come back with that video just to make you think. And make sure you join the Patrons. If you're not a part of the Patrons, make sure you're hitting the Cash App. Also, go like and follow the TikTok. More videos to come. And we have Eric Trump taking American Bitcoin public on the NASDAQ. And again, Trump and family are laughing to the bank because they know all about the new digital economy. And Trump's job is to land us in this fourth industrial revolution. And we have Trump is asked about China, Russia, North Korea, and India. And he stated that China should have gave us a shout out because we helped China. And guys, we know he's telling the truth. If you have the NWO book, if you listen to me speak about Anthony Sutton, when I first started this channel, you know he mapped it out because we funded the rise of China. And now they have the BRICS and the Belt and Road. And that means the fall of America to Babylon and the rise of China, the dragon, with that digital yuan backed by that digital SDR. And remember, the Crypto Teacher told you. And we have Mike Wilson from Morgan Stanley. Says that the Fed should help the U.S. And guys, we know the Fed felt like they did help the U.S. They printed 80% of all money in existence in 2 years to destroy the dollar. So therefore, they can bring on this digital currency where your life is going to be a real life video game. If you're printing money in your own currency and you're the world reserve currency, there is no such thing as debt. But now that all these countries are moving off the dollar and moving over to digital currencies, of course, that's going to devalue the dollar. And that's what Trump's job is to do. Get us on a level playing field for the new digital economy. And we have trillions sitting in money market accounts. And the Fed is going to start cutting rates over these next 2 years. That money is going to flow out of money market accounts and flow into something more safer and more yield. What do y'all think that's going to be? That's right. Overseas stable coins. And remember, the Crypto Teacher tells you, United States, you can't earn interest. But guess what? Overseas, they have plenty. And again, remember, the Crypto Teacher told you. Crypto is going to take the blame of the fall of this legacy market. But remember, it's a plan that moves in phases. And we have football begins. Now the sheep are really going to be distracted. And that's why there's always a big event around this time. Because they're worried about football while their life is changing right in front of your eyes. You cannot make this stuff up. Remember, your life is an illusion. And TV is your reality. But we know there's going to be some big money going into betting. Remember, betting is that shadow $1 billion side. Because we see the big money that's made in front of our eyes. But when it comes to betting, we don't get to see any of that. And believe me, it is hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars. And remember, the Crypto Teacher told you. And we have ADP numbers come in lower as expected, but as we can see, their forecasts just keep dropping, so therefore the numbers don't look as bad. Remember, guys, numbers can be played with, and the government is always at its best when it comes to manipulating numbers. But this jobs market is only going to get worse over these next 2 years because the machines are coming. And then we have Hitachi Energy, a Switzerland company, going to be investing in Virginia's energy. And we know how important these data centers are. And Virginia, I think, is like number one when it comes to data centers, but also, more importantly, it's a military place. And we know how important these data centers are going to be, especially when they turn on these supercomputers. And that's when the cyber attacks begin. And remember, the crypto teacher told you, because he knows when it comes to the NWO, it's all planned out. You have a wonderful day.
Customers, engaging our customers, growing. And so it's really important. Really, it's where the excitement is in sports. It's almost as big as the Super Bowl, not quite, but the start of NFL season is really second to the Super Bowl, the biggest time of the year for us.
Can you give us some insight into what you're seeing even in the lead up to kickoff? What have you seen about new customers signing up or returning customers and the amount that they're engaging with your platform?
Well, this is my favorite time to load up the stats every morning because the numbers just keep going up right into kickoff, and it'll continue through Sunday. So, we're seeing big numbers, record numbers, and really excited about what we're going to see for the start of the season.
Yes, it is. 54,000 ADP, the private payroll company, estimating that private payrolls around the country rose by 54,000. That is against an estimate of 75,000, so a little bit under. Good sector, 13. Interesting number there. Services, 42, not so strong. And there's the non-farm payroll estimate, 75 for both government and the private sector for Friday. So we'll see if there's an adjustment. It's in and around. Small business, okay, up 12,000 relative to the total there. Medium up 25, and large business up 18. It's been large businesses leading the way, so it's interesting to see small business catching up here. But this is where it gets interesting. Leisure and hospitality, we've seen that up 50, construction up 16. And I really just want to go right to the education and health services, which is, by our estimate, the fifth month in a row we've seen this decline. That had been a perennial stalwart source of job growth, not anymore. And there's trade, transportation, and utilities down 17. I'm interested in that because the tariffs might be reducing some of the goods flow, and we'll see what happens, whether or not that leads to layoffs in that sector. Job stayers up 4.4% in terms of their wages. So that's pretty good. And my talk with Waller yesterday suggested that, as long as wages remain okay, then you've got pretty good demand in the jobs.
I think it's been in stasis for about a year now. But we have to look at the broader context. This is an economy that was kind of whipsawed by the Great Resignation. A lot of people are pretty happy where they are, and they're staying put. So
happy where they are at work, or happy where they are unemployed?
Employed. But also, this is, firm behavior, employer behavior has changed quite a bit since the pandemic, and you can see it in the hours worked. Right now, average hours is about 2 hours less a week, according to ADP payroll data, than it was before the pandemic. That's consistent with a hiring pattern where you're keeping people on payroll, but they're working fewer hours. Before you cut a job, you'll cut an hour. Right. And so what we're seeing is maybe an underemployed worker as opposed to an unemployed worker, which is a meaningful difference. It's also easier to add hours when things pick up. So the flexibility we're seeing now is in hours worked, not just in growing and shrinking your headcount. That's new.
That's really interesting.
News out this morning of a big manufacturing investment in the state of Virginia. Is it for lovers or Virginia?
It's for manufacturing lovers.
Joining us now, Virginia Governor Glenn Youngkin and Hitachi Energy CEO Andreas Schierenbeck. Welcome, both of you gentlemen. Who wants to explain it for you? You're used to talking first.
Well, so the great thing is Hitachi's been in Virginia for a long time, for 50 years. And they're making a huge investment. I'm going to let Andreas talk specifically about the investment, but it is an investment of nearly $500 million. It's going to support 825 jobs, and they picked Virginia again. And this investment is critical for two reasons. One, they picked Virginia, and we have really become a manufacturing renaissance in the Commonwealth with pharmaceutical manufacturing, heavy manufacturing all coming to our state. But on top of that, this investment is at the heart of national security. What they make is critical to investing in our electrical grid, for supporting data center investments. And as a result, this is a cornerstone of what I believe America needs to be doing in order to compete with China and to make sure that we're at the forefront of AI, forefront of data centers, and forefront of power.
Going to a different economy, and we're going to be learning more about that as we go. But clearly, we're learning that things can be done from remote locations. We're learning that technology can replace people even more than we thought.
We're not going back to the same economy. We're recovering, but to a different economy, and it'll be one that is more leveraged to technology. And I worry that that is going to make it even more difficult than it was for many workers.
In Silicon Valley, and my friends who work in technology know that what we did to the manufacturing workers, we are now going to do to the retail workers, the call center workers, the fast food workers, the truck drivers, and then even bookkeepers, accountants, insurance agents, lawyers, and on through the economy. So what happened to the manufacturing workers is a very clear sign.
And so we'll import Chinese-based CBDC technology. So it's going to be CBDC in a box provided to you by the People's Bank of China.
But every stock, every bond, every currency, every commodity, every piece of art, every private business, every piece of real estate will eventually be a token on a blockchain, an entry on a ledger, permanent and immutable. We will have truth instead of trust, and we will save over $7 trillion a year. 6 to 8% of global GDP is wasted by the friction of the trust industry that's necessary when you have dual entry accounting. With triple entry accounting, which is what a blockchain is, we get rid of all of that friction. It's a beautiful future.
Like what you see in China and their social credit scoring systems, right? If we get identity wrong, it could be a tool to enslave humanity. And if we get it right, it could be a tool to liberate humanity. And as an American, I'm obviously rooting for the one that's on the side of freedom.
Bitcoin is an international asset. And also, I do believe the role of crypto is, it's digitizing gold.
I actually believe this technology is going to be very important. Look at it. We have been part of the huge revolution in investing through ETFs. We believe that ETFs will be changing the whole way we invest. Many people still use it as a means, people are investing it for indexing. No, the majority of people who are putting money in ETFs are active investors that are buying exposure. The entire bond market is being transformed as we talk right now. I believe the next generation for markets, the next generation for securities will be tokenization of securities. And if we could have that distributed ledger that we know every beneficial owner, every beneficial seller, we all have our code of who's buying, who's selling, instantaneous settlement. And think about it, it changes the whole ecosystem.
Chinese bank ICBC has been hit by a ransomware attack, and the U.S. Treasury market, as a result of that, has been disrupted. This, according to the Financial Times. We're getting at more right now with Bloomberg's Shonali Bassick. Shonali, what do we know?
Listen, we have the Financial Times now reporting that ICBC, one of China's largest banks here, was hit with a ransomware attack. And remember, they're a very significant intermediary in the Treasury market. The SIFMA has told its members that this has been part of the reason here that the system is kind of clogged up, if you will, during that auction that we saw a little bit before. The attack had prevented ICBC, according to the Financial Times, from settling Treasury trades on behalf of other market participants. A large executive at a major bank also telling the paper that such a large party on the fixed income clearing corp creates major concerns, potentially impacting the liquidity of Treasury markets.
Now, it was not just a poor auction. It was absolutely lousy, and when the dealers have to step in to save a treasury auction, that's a rare occurrence. And
Cryptoteacher and the new World Order book, plus the 3 Kids books, It's Time to Re-Educate. Also, new to cryptos, Coinbase, Bitrue, Binance. Do not forget book links and crypto links are in the description. The stock channel, guys. Don't forget to go like, subscribe, spread everywhere. You have your Kobo, your chip stocks, your banking, your gaming. While everybody's sitting at home, get home stocks, the Xrp, the biotech stocks. And while everybody's at home wishing, they were still getting that free money. What are they doing? Drinking and smoking weed. Don't forget about those stocks, and you have a wonderful day. most powerful person in the world is the storyteller. The storyteller sets the vision, values, and agenda of an entire generation to come. Steve Jobs. And guys, you know I truly believe in this. When you look at the New World Order, they're the storytellers. And that's the reason why I wrote my New World Order book. But guys, now it's time to change the current generation. And I wrote 3 kids books. You know I love the Trinity because I understand the power that's in it. So I have 3 books. We have an opportunity to change the generation, to educate, not just me, but I want to show you that I take action on a daily basis. And I want you to take action on a daily basis. Whether it's your job, whether it's in your community, we have an opportunity right now to educate the masses. I posted this on my Twitter account. Please share, but this is a short clip of the 3 books. There's going to be a clothing line and action figures. Please get these books for your kids, nephews, cousins, friends, so therefore we can start the re-education now. Because as we see, the 4th Industrial Revolution foundation is definitely here. Robots, algorithms, drones, taking humanity out the picture. We have to re-educate. But let's get into the video.
Part 1. King Joshua and Grandma Tam save the village. Part 2. King Joshua and Grandma Tam save New York from COVID stories 3. Part 3. King Joshua and Grandma Tam goes to China.
It's mandatory to get part 1, part 2, and part 3 of this series. It's time to re-educate Generation Z.